got curious about what thrifting the wealthiest city in California would be like. You know, the items a lot of times depend on what the neighborhood and surrounding communities are like. So I really wanted to check out if I could get some great scores in the wealthiest city in California. Hi, Ali Borealis here. Welcome into my channel. Now, I was born and raised on the bayou in Louisiana, and I've lived in California just under 30 years, and I had never heard of this city, to my surprise. Now, you know it's an uber wealthy neighborhood when they don't try to promote that they're an uber wealthy neighborhood, which is probably why I've never heard of it. The city I'm talking about is Hillsborough, California, which, as you can imagine, is in the Silicon Valley. Hillsborough is really primarily residential, so there weren't any thrift stores directly in Hillsborough. So I thrifted the surrounding areas. Let's get to thrifting and I'll show you how it went. There are a lot of stores to get to. I'm here at one of the Goodwills that opens at 9. It's gonna be a fast and furious day. This little Scotty dog is so adorable, but he didn't comp very high. I did discover that he's a creamer from the 1930s made by the L.E. Smith Glass Company as a post-cereal promotional item. If you love little Scotty dogs, there are plenty of him on eBay at good prices. I love finding Fitz and Floyd, and I said in another video that not all Fitz and Floyd is created equal. I don't mean that they're different quality. They always have great quality. I mean they're not all created equal as far as resale value goes. I definitely put these in my cart. Now this is an older Fitz and Floyd. You can see it doesn't even say Fitz and Floyd. It just says FF, and I love that we have the year on it. Now this one I showed a couple of videos ago. It's their Gypsy Chicks cookie jar, and you can see it's a more modern label that does say Fitz and Floyd. So if you come across Fitz and Floyd, always comp it before you leave the store. These two are adorable, and look at the sweet grandbaby bunnies they're holding. This is a really beautiful Shatford casserole dish, but unfortunately it didn't comp very high. I took my 2 Fitz and Floyd bunnies and my 2 Pottery Barn mugs and headed to the register to check out. These mugs are called Mr. and Miss Spice, and they both have their stickers on the bottom, which tells me they've never been used, which is a real thrifting bonus. I found 2 recent sold comps, one for $49, the other for $65. When I went to pay for my bunnies, I realized one of her ears had been repaired. So I paid regular sticker price for him and only $1.99 for her. I didn't find any sold comps for the 2 of them together, but this is a list comp. So I knew going in because of her ear, I was going to lower the price some, and this seemed a little high for a list price. So I ended up selling these 2 together for $85. Wow, that was amazing. I got in there shortly after 9 and I was at the register by 9:20 with my Fitz and Floyd Easter bunnies and my, and my Pottery Barn gingerbread mugs. I want to break this down and do the math here. So my first 20 minutes of thrifting the wealthiest city in California, I spent $10.46. And if we look at the solds on this, I sold the Fitz and Floyd bunnies for $84 and the mug comps average about $57 for a total of $141. It comes to about $130 of potential profit. Not bad for my first 20 minutes there. I'm going to hit up St. Vincent de Paul next. That opens at 10 a.m., which is right next to an Assistance League thrift store that also opens at 10. I usually have pretty good luck at the Assistance League thrift shops. How beautiful.
Lovely.
Yeah. Oh, that one's pretty too. How much is that one? $50. Wow. This is a Kirk's Folly brooch priced at $50, and when I ran sold comps on this particular one, they come in at $50. Had this bracelet been sterling, I would have bought it. It was only $30. She did tell me they have a jeweler come in who prices all of their jewelry, which explains this shocker. That's beautiful.
$125, is that what it is? $400.
$400. Oh my gosh. Can I see that little lily pad brooch? This brooch is a Museum of Fine Arts MFA piece. You can see it's priced at $30. I didn't find any sold comps, but these are the list comps. And if you're wondering about that $400 necklace, the company name is Tabra. She does have a website. All her pieces are handmade in Bali. They're really beautiful, special, unique pieces. And the necklaces for sale on her website have a variety of price points, as you can see. But when I look up sold comps on eBay, these are the prices I'm finding. So I drifted away from looking at jewelry in the store, but boy, did I find some other great things. I love this Tinola egg, but I ran comps on it and it just wasn't going to work out for me. I heavily considered this piece of pottery by Don Hanson, but there just weren't a whole lot of sold comps to go off of. And then I turned around and saw these two freestanding glass shelves with so much goodness on them. What an absolute score in that place. I went in there at 10 a.m. I was out by 10:30, and I have major scores in here. I like to be as efficient as possible so I can get to as many places as possible. And let me tell you, when I first started, I would spend hours in a thrift store just researching, because I didn't really know what I was looking at. But the more I do it, the more I can just go down an aisle and pick out what looks like it would have a high resale value. So I am going right next door to St. Vincent de Paul's, and we'll see what they have in there. It's a good trip so far. But first, let me show you what I purchased and what the numbers are on them. These lovelies are two McCoy hanging wall planters from the 1940s. So these would hang on the wall, and you could put flowers in there or a little plant or something like that, or you could just stand them upright. I think they missed that these are both signed because I almost missed it too. But you can see they have a little little bit of crazing, and they're both signed McCoy. I pulled sold comps, and you can see they came in a couple of different color variations, but the ones that sell by themselves sell for around $30. Then there's this pair that looks just like mine that sold for $75. Let's get to the uranium glass. I'm so excited I found these two pieces. Does uranium glass actually contain uranium? Yes, it does. That's what makes it glow under a black light. While uranium is radioactive, the amount of uranium in uranium glass is so small that they consider it non-hazardous to people. First, we have this ashtray made by the Fry Glass Company in the 1930s, so almost an antique. I did find a sold comp on it. Comes in around $80. And, I really need to slow down in these stores sometimes because I didn't realize till I got it home that 2 of the cigarette bays are chipped. So keeping that in mind, I priced this accordingly. And even with the 2 chips, it sold for $38. Next is my second piece of uranium glass, and this one's not chipped. Can you guess what it's used for? This was made by the Mosser Glass Company, and it is a covered butter dish. I pulled a couple of sold comps. One sold for $85 and the other sold for $90. So between the McCoy and the 2 uranium glass pieces, I spent $35.08. And the solds on these come to around $200. That gives me a potential profit of $164.92. This was my first purchase from the store. It's a very old brooch that depicts the god of wine, fertility, and revelry. In Greek, he's known as Dionysus, and in Roman, he's known as Bacchus. He has an older style trombone clasp, which is one of the reasons I picked him up. Here's a little info on the trombone clasp. Now, his clasp is crimped a little, so it's not working in the traditional way, but it does work enough that it's not going to fall off if you're wearing it. It was super hard to find comps on anything similar. This one sold for $89.99, and it is silver, not sterling, because sterling is $925 and this one's $835. I think a reasonable comp for him might be around $70. My second purchase is this vintage belt that is signed. Each of these flower clusters are all stamped LJM on the backside, which is Laurentian Jewelry Manufacturing. They started in 1952 in Montreal, Canada, and are still going, with their most collectible pieces being from the 50s and 60s, which is the time period of this belt. I did model it on my mannequin. It has a hook clasp, so it can be worn loose or it can be worn fitted. I didn't find any sold comps, but I found these 2 list comps. So I would place the sale value on this one around $85. Between the antique brooch and the vintage belt, I paid $25. And the sold comps on these 2 items come to around $155, which gives me a potential profit of $130. This is a cute little town. My next stop was a nonprofit supporting the Humane Society, where I met the lovely, charming, and wonderful Oliver. Hi. Okay, thank you.
Hello there. Welcome to Treasure Paws. We got all kinds of brands coming through. Currently, we've got Yves Saint Laurent Paris. We've got Miu Miu. We've got Chanel over here. I've got Hammett Los Angeles. What else do we have? Kate Spade. Barney's New York. Just kind of looking around here. Halston, Free People, of course, and then, your more anthropology kind of things. So
Awesome.
Come visit us.
I will. I'll come back for sure. Thank you.
Well,
You can see they have so many designer brands in their inventory, and Oliver was so kind to let me just come back behind the counter and dig through the jewelry. Let's go through my purchases. This is a vintage Egyptian Revival JJ brooch. I purchased this one because I love Egyptian Revival jewelry. I find it sells well, and I've never seen a JJ Egyptian Revival brooch. I have already sold this one for $39.99. I also purchased this signed Benedict New York brooch. I pulled some comps, but I couldn't find this exact brooch for a sold comp. So here are some other solds by the same company. I did find a similar brooch to mine that's a list comp with a different colored stone. So a good comp on this one might be around $125. This beaded bag is so beautiful and delicate. It's from the 1940s, and it's handmade in France by a company called Walborg. I've already sold this one, and it's sold for $68.99. Next, we have this black amethyst glass bud vase that's hand blown. For you purple lovers, the color on this is so rich, and it has an added wraparound clear glass swirl. Now, I didn't find any sold comps on this one, but I did find this listing, so I think it's fair to say I could probably get around $55 for mine. Did you glass connoisseurs catch what this is? It's the star of the show. This is a highly collectible lighter from the 1960s made by the Blinko Glass Company. The Blinko Glass Company started in 1893, and they are still going today. So as you can imagine, they have thousands of different collectible pieces in lots of different colors. This is their 1963 catalog, and it's the year that first features this lighter. It looks like this lighter was $9 and included a matching ashtray. Now, these lighters already resell well, and I noticed the pink one especially gets higher prices than some of the other colors, which tells me this color is more collectible. I've already sold mine, and it sold for $155. So let's look at the totals here. I spent $96.40 there. The sold comps come to $443.98, which gives me a potential profit of $347.58. Okay, it is 1 o'clock. I just finished up at Treasure Paws. It's a lovely store, and Oliver is the sweetest person. He gave me some really good discounts, and I promised him I'd come back, and I certainly will, because it's 1 o'clock, and I haven't eaten, and I haven't used the bathroom, so I'm having a great day thrifting. This was my last stop of the day, and I found some treasures in here as well. This store had quite a bit of jewelry, and it seemed like their prices were a little bit on the high side, but I don't ever let that worry me too much, because it seems like some places, if they're overpricing some of their jewelry, then there may be pieces in there that they're not identifying and they're actually underpricing them as well. I found 2 jewelry pieces in there that seemed to fit my theory. The first one's a Monet piece, and Monet can sell anywhere from moderate to low prices, and there are pieces every now and again that sell very well. This is a very rare Monet sash style belt in beautiful rich green with dangling crystals. Even the end caps have quite a bit of detail. I couldn't find any comps on this belt, and given how unique and uncommon it is, I think I can get around $125. If you ever see a book chain necklace out in the wild, pick it up. They're usually antique from the Victorian era, and they're usually 9 karat or 10 karat or gold filled. I looked at this a little better when I brought it home, and then I realized these are lavender glass beads. How divine. It can be worn in a couple of different ways, and here are a few sold comps that are gold filled like mine is. Well, this one's actually brass, but it has a beautiful locket, and this one I picked because it has glass beads on it like mine does. This one is just a basic gold-filled chain, and it went for $145, and here's another one that went for $149, just a gold-filled chain. So I would comp mine around $175. I paid a total of $31.50 between the book chain necklace and the Monet belt. Sold comps come to around $300, giving me a potential profit of $268.50. Here are my grand totals in thrifting the wealthiest city in California. What stood out to me on this trip wasn't that I was finding these ultra high dollar items. It's that every store I went in, I was finding multiple items that were giving me good, solid returns. I'll definitely go back there, and if you're ever in Silicon Valley, check out those thrift stores. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate all of my subscribers and my viewers, and I'll see you on the next adventure.